Hello and welcome. Welcome to Live at Lunch. I'm Melanie Militix, and I am inspired to share with you today. Not only do I have a topic that is of utmost importance to every single person who's in view of this live or is watching the recording, but to everyone that you love. We're going to talk about today is a killer that most people are aware of, but they don't necessarily take the actions to reduce it in their lives. They think that they're just a victim to this thing and that they have no choice but to succumb to it and get overwhelmed by it and essentially overflow with it, or worst case scenario, let it kill them. Okay. So what I'm talking about today is stress. And it's one of these things that we all know what stress is, but we don't, you can't say, it's a specific thing, like, well, when it's cold, I'm cold. Like cold, you know what cold is. It's a feeling. Stress is a feeling too, only it's one that exhibits itself, it makes itself known in so many ways. And I don't think that enough people really understand what's going on, when it's going on. And some don't even know how to identify that their disorders or their diseases or the things that are going wrong in their life are actually directly related to stress. So what we're going to talk about today is ways that you are going to be able to identify the stress in your life and actually get rid of it. Okay. So we are going to talk about the ways that we are exposed to it, so that you can become crystal clear on the things that might be getting you, right? And then we're going to talk about how you can actually reduce their effects on you. Because the fact is, we cannot and we will not be able to completely eliminate stress in our lives. It's not possible. But you can become more adaptable. And you can help your body to resist the negative effects of stress. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the effects of stress just for a moment. And let me just first say, I am not a doctor, not a medical professional. What I am is a wellness advocate or a holistic health nut. For literally since I was about 16 years old, I've been studying wellness and what that actually means. So food as medicine, herbs to treat disease in the body. I've studied herbalism, Ayurveda, practice yoga. I was a doula. There's a lot of incredible information that is out there for you. And I've been an avid consumer of this information and applier my whole life, virtually, since I was, 16 years old. And interestingly, when I think back to how that started, is I was 16 and I was stressed. I was stressed by this world. I was stressed by some things that had happened when I was a little younger. I was stressed, and my mother taught me yoga, and she brought home these books, and these books completely opened my eyes to food as medicine and wellness, and the fact that all of the answers are absolutely at our fingertips if we look. And yes, Michelle, thank you for that. I appreciate it. So first, let's talk about stress, how you can reduce it, because ultimately what I hope you get out of this is that you will be more joyful and fulfilled in your life. So that's the intention we're setting here. Yes, this is about staying well and being well, but I also want you to understand that ultimately is my hope that you actually come away from here with strategies that can help you to live more joyful life. So let's talk about the types of stress, first of all. And I'm using this magical new tool, but I'm not sure that it's working the way that I'd love it to, because it's not going to show you the listing I have here. Okay, so first of all, oh, I just killed it. I don't know how I do that. So types of stress. Let me look at my other notes. That'll make it easier. So there are different types of stress. obviously, right? And the way I think of them, you can look up stress and you can see that, there's environmental stress, there's workplace stress, there's life happenings stress, there's chemical stress, etc. The way I think of them is there's mental stress, there's physical stressors, and then there's recurring stress that comes from remembered stress. Now, what the heck am I talking about there? It's the fact that our mind will remind ourselves and rehearse things that have happened to us in the past over and over again, and your body doesn't know the difference that it's not happening right in front of you. So it'll actually literally pull up the stress response. So what is a stress response? Stress response is essentially, it's like your body is going to act like an animal response. So there's fight or there's flight, right? There's fear, so a recoiling, or there's flight, which is enraged. Oh, all right, no, sorry. There's fight, which would be like enraged, angry, right? There's fear, which is a recoiling, and there's flight, literally going internal and supposedly not reacting to the stress, but you do internalize it. So your body is doing all of these things. No matter whether your stress is an external source or an internal source, we're going to talk about that. Your body's doing the same thing. It is responding with this flood of chemicals in your body that sends signals to your body to do different things. Your heart to race, your stomach to stop digesting, your muscles to tense, all of these things, and the signals to do all the things that keep you in homeostasis, that keep you healthy and in flow, that you actually think like a human, all of that get shut down. Stress shuts you down from being human. Okay, so, and I'm going to show you a way to be human. Really, when you're in the middle of stress, I promise you, I'm going to give you actual tools here. Okay. So let's talk about just some of the sources of stress that you might be exposed to. And those things I think of as, we can talk about external and internal. So if you're taking notes, this is where you take notes. External, internal. So I can actually show that. So external, here we go. Boom. That's cool. All right. So some of the external types of stress that your people are exposed to. Oh, wait. I'm going to take just a second. I have actually, okay, if you live on planet Earth, you're under stress. Okay, so if you, for even one moment, think that you're not stressed, then you got to listen to these lists. Okay, because I actually was just talking to somebody, and I said the stress from, and he was like, oh, "I'm not under stress. I'm not stressed by that at all." I'm like, "Okay, there's different types of stress. There's mental stress. There's physical stress, and you are under stress. So external types of stress, those are going to come from." And then we're going to talk about the physical externals. So things like poor quality food, chemical exposure, which are things that we often cannot avoid if we're employed or out in the world. The use of drugs, alcohol, bad air, lack of sleep, etc. Okay, so those are physical. And then the external mental ones would be workplace, relationships, life happenings, major upheavals in life, your kids. I mean, you get the idea. So external, and then internal. These would be what we do to ourselves, and this is an area where you're not just going to get a tool today that's going to take this away, but this is where if you could really get your mind around helping yourself, your entire world can change. So internal, as I said, doesn't matter if it's literally you trying to avoid getting hit by a car, or if you are worrying about an upcoming event that you have to attend and show up and be great at, your body will literally do the same thing. It'll freak you out, right? So internal, as I said, your body's acting as if it's happening. These are things like worry, anxiety, anger, resentment. Internal. Resentment, unforgiveness. And we always think this means we've got to forgive other people, right? I'm going to add forgiveness of yourself. And I will actually give a bit of how that's helping me right now to heal a very old injury literally by forgiving myself. And yeah, so forgiveness of self and others. So let's jump right in to strategies you can use to reduce stress. Now, remember, we're going to have, I'm kind of a practical person. So I think of things as, I like to put them in categories. So we've got external ways that we can reduce our stress. And then we have more internal ways. Okay. So some external ways to reduce stress would be things like drinking a cup of tea, bergamot, because it's very good for increasing joy. But yeah, drinking tea. No. So this would be things like clean eating. Number one, you really have no idea how much your body is literally under stress if you're filling it with weird toxic chemicals that the grocery store says are safe for you, or FDA that lets it go into the grocery stores. Exercise. And, exercise, this is kind of an up and down because I want to state this clearly. Exercise can reduce stress. Absolutely. We're going to pump out some endorphins. We can get all kinds of stuff out because we sit way too much. But if you are doing tough effort exercise, that actually puts stress on the body. It increases the cortisol stress response, the same as if you had you had to lift a car off a friend. I don't know. That literally does. So I wanted to add, put there something, if you're doing restorative exercise, something like yoga, qigong, going for long walks, fun exercise, dance. I'm sure there's 100 more that people can respond. I would love to know, what do you think? If you've got, I would love to see your comments. What do you do that's exercise that you really feel it releases stress? I'd love to hear it in your comments. But just know that if you're doing tough exercise, you actually need to bring your stress level down from that. If anybody who's watching who's ever done any type of prolonged exercise, how, that bonk, how you can feel. It takes everything out of you. That's literally a cortisol stress response. And you need to address that the same as you would if you had chronic stress at work. Worship. Yes, that was coming to that. Okay, so self-care. So now we're talking about things that you can do, and I'll to get to that in a minute, Victoria. Self-care, meaning anything that you're going to do to be in a place where that you're actually taking care of yourself. You're taking time for yourself. Drinking a cup of tea, going for a walk, sitting with those that you love, self-care, okay, massage, etc., etc. Laughter is one of the best medicines ever. Having fun as a rule, and external sleep hygiene is a big one. So just go look it up. Sleep hygiene. Oh, I have insomnia. Oh, I don't sleep well. I don't sleep well. I hear this so often. You know what? Sleep hygiene is something I needed to learn, and I am so blessed to say I sleep like a baby. It's just something, these are just external things that you can do to yourself, for yourself, so that you can sleep better, so that your body better adapts to the rest of the day. And another external thing that you can use are adaptogenic herbs. So I've been talking a lot about adapting to the environment. Adapting to the environment, meaning that you're better able to handle the stress that you are under, because we can't avoid all stresses, right? So what adaptogens are, and this might be new, so this is fun. Let's talk about this. Back, I believe it was in the 70s, right? So the Russian cosmonauts, the scientists that work with them, had a brilliant inspiration, right? And they thought, well, if the cosmonauts were obviously under stress going into space, right? So they had this inspiration that what was in the plants growing in very stressful conditions. The high mountains were dry and cold. How were they able to do it? What compounds were in those plants that helped them to adapt to the stress of their environment? And that's where this whole use of adaptogenic herbs came into play. So we know that these incredible plants are here on the earth for us to use, right? And so adaptogenic herbs are a great external way. And I know people like external things. They like things that they can do, they can pop. That's why people like tea, the things that you can do outside that are going to bring the stress level down. Adaptogenic herbs are great. And I have got an amazing resource for those. If you want, just hit me on here and I'll get you the details. Now, let's talk about internal. Okay, so we just talked about external things that you do from the outside. Internal is going to be far, and you know what, the worship is, Vicki and Michelle, worship is definitely got to go kind of as an external internal, right? It's part exercise. It's definitely a lot internal, right? It's both. And it is a incredible releaser. I believe that's what we are meant to do and be and have on the regular, right? So some of the internal ways that you can begin to apply now, some of the words that people use, things like mindfulness. I put right prayer here, prayerful meditation, meditation on the word. I made myself a little note here for as a man thinketh, go and absorb that and get that and understand that what goes on between your ears has far more to do with the level of stress that you're under on a daily basis than you ever would think. So having a mind that you have the power of love and a sound mind, right? So if you have that, use it. It's an amazing tool that we're not using. I heard, this whole thing since I was in college going around, is said we only use 10% of our brain. Why? Because we're not tapping into the power that we have to actually quiet this thing, and it's only looping around in the same memories that we have. We're living in the past. No, I don't know. Okay, so what else I have here though is with a capital G is gratitude. Way too commercialized right now, but the most powerful thing that anyone, if you know you're stressed right now, if there's only one thing you take from this, it would be take the stress herbs and practice gratitude. How's that? Those two things. Gratitude is powerful, and there are practices that you can do that actually help you to cultivate this feeling. Gratitude is essentially a feeling of thanks for the blessings that you have and that you are having, it's giving thanks for what is to come. It's gratitude for your life now, the good, the hard, all of it. It's gratitude. It's all that's wanted from us is gratitude. And when you practice gratitude, sometimes this is not the easiest thing for people to do. They just don't think of gratitude. They're in a negative thought spiral, and I'll just say, well, tell me something you're grateful for right now. Give me 3 things right now that you're grateful for. My kids, if they get all crazy, I'm like, okay, stop. Shh. What are you grateful for? And they'll tell me. But for us, we can be more structured than that. And you can get a notepad, and you can literally sit and begin to write the things that you're grateful for. And sometimes it might just be, I woke up today. I am blessed to be living and breathing today. I get to serve others today. I have good food. I have water. I have tea. Right? Sometimes that's where you start. But even just sitting and being there, you cannot be grateful and stressed and angry all at the same time. Yes, Michelle, my gratitude journal, I've got them all over, in fact, because if I can't find one, I start a new one. So they're everywhere. So every morning the gratitude journal comes out. So great. Thank you. All right. So, so we've been talking about ways that you can adapt to the stress in the world. There are ways that you can avoid more stress in your world. And I believe that as you actually learn to identify them and decide that you don't need them in your life, that you can. But we talk about, there are things that we're not going to be able to avoid. Unfortunately, there's going to be life events. We're going to have chemical stressors in our lives. It's a world that we live in. Sometimes we're not going to get enough sleep. Sometimes people are going to be really nasty. Okay, so these things are going to happen. And you have a way to buffer this. You do. You have the power to buffer this. You don't have to be this animal who's literally just thrown to and fro and reacting to this world, because that's all you're doing if you aren't mindful that you're reacting to a physical response in your body to stress, right? So how do you reduce the physical response in your body? That's part of it. And then it's a mental game. So adaptogens and adaptability. Okay, so adaptogens are the herbs that we talked about. So adaptogenic herbs literally help your body to reduce cortisol, get your cortisol back to a normal level, which is normally for us it's elevated and out of control, and it's actually breaking down our systems. And truthfully, if you have a high level of stress in your body all the time, your cells aren't even making good copies of themselves. Your DNA starts, spitting out recipes that aren't ideal for your body, making cheap proteins and etc. is not a good thing. So bringing your stress level down is incredibly powerful. So adaptogens do that in a way that you literally take them internally, and then your body uses them for the stress response. And then the adaptability piece, this is what you do. You become more adaptable. The note I have here is that you are better able to respond to the stressors of the body as a human, not an enraged animal or a fearful animal. So I'm going to give you a couple of, this is where I'm going to give you some exercises. And we're going to teach you how to respond like a human, or if you feel like you're acting like an animal, stressed out animal, scared animal, use these things. Okay, so the first one I'm going to show you is super fun, only because I'll never forget what my daughter said. So she was going in for a college prep test. And I was like, if you get stressed, let me give you something to do. And she's like, oh, don't worry, I'm not stressed at all. I'm okay with this. I said, but if you start to get that feeling, do this thing. She's like, okay. So here's the thing. You put your thumbs right here. And so it's a lot to do with breath, right? But just put your thumbs in your temples, a little bit of pressure, not a lot. And take your fingers and looking in the mirror, which is funny. I'm just doing it without looking. It's easier. In the middle. And you just gently give a little, not a big tug, but, just pull that skin apart. And now you take 3 deep breaths. And you might find that you need more than that. Depends on how stressed you are and how overwhelmed you feel and how out of control you feel about making decisions that are human versus animal, right? And that works. And I'll tell you what my daughter said, which was just awesome, because I didn't really explain it. She's like, oh, that's great, Mom, because it brings your mind back to the prefrontal cortex where you're human, and stops you from acting, being all stressed out like an animal. My daughter said that. I didn't say anything except, let me show you this thing to put and to handle stress. She's like, remind you to be human. She's so smart. So smart. But yeah, it does. It literally brings it's this part of your brain is your human brain. So it brings your breath and your focus back to rational mind. The other one is simple, and that is one hand on the front and one hand on the back. And you're going to do the same thing, but you just deep breathe here. And wherever you are, that doesn't look weird at all. You might have a headache. People might just think you're dealing with a stress headache. That's normal, right? So we need these tools that we can do wherever we are, so we don't look like weirdos. Because we're kind of like, we're these humans in this world dealing with stress. But you've got these superhuman, amazing tools that you can use. Your body has the ability to clear, to calm it, to take it away. So 3 deep breaths minimum right here. And if you can't touch yourself and everything, though sometimes that's really important. And I'll tell you, this works. This works for kids. This works for adults. I have helped my kids in different situations. And if you've ever helped a child to feel like they were safe in the world ever in your life, you know that beauty that beams from their eyeballs when they're in gratitude. They don't even know what to say. They're just like, thank you. This works, okay? Okay, this works for kids. It doesn't take a whole lot of explanation to say, put your one hand in front, do this, breathe. Okay? So help them. All right, so where am I? Okay, so to wrap this up, I want to kind of dispel one of the hey Joseph, dispel one of the myths that people who are trying to get their head straight, we're working on personal development or whatever, and they're using affirmations, right? So affirmations are this kind of, or a prayer, a rote prayer that goes around your head. So you're saying these things in your head to try to right your mind, to right your thoughts, yeah? And it doesn't get anywhere if your emotions aren't right, if your heart's not right. So affirmations, prayer without gratitude, without believing for the healing, without the heart, don't make any real change. So to actually have your stress reduced, some kind of, rote prayer going around your head is not going to do a thing. You've got to feel it in your heart. So I just wanted to stress that. It's not just some kind of thing that you're doing in your head. That would be more of a stressor, like, I'm not stressed, I'm not stressed, I'm not stressed. I'm not, yeah, right. It stresses me out just to say that, okay? Peace, okay. So the things that so what we just went through when I talked about the internal and external stressors, the causes of stress, and then the internal and external ways that you can help reduce stress in your own body, because as we're doing, reducing the stress in our body and our mind, these are ways to reduce, not eliminate stress. Obviously, we can't eliminate all stress from our lives. But when you actually are aware, it's the first step to changing something, right? So I hope that as you begin to make conscious awareness of this, that your life will begin to transform. And what I know is that as you reduce the stress and the strongholds in your mind, the anxiety, the worry, those things, and you help your body to better adapt to the stress that you're physically, and my note here says, worry and anxiety are lies, right? So they're lies. So you live in peace and joy in the truth. Then what's beautiful is that this beautiful mind that you have been given to do, be, and give more and serve more, this beautiful mind will be like released from chains, so that the creative and inspired, everything that you are divinely inspired to do can actually come to fruition. So it's like our job to believe that we don't need to worry and stress, that we don't need to scheme and wish and think and do, right? That we could actually be relieved of this feeling forever. And it is possible. It is possible. I do think it takes some work. I only say that because it's my experience, right? So knowing darn well that I lived under stress for a good most of my life, I can say that it's not something that you just turn off. But I promised you I was going to tell you. So before I wrap this, I wanted to say how this is helping me, help me. And you might be saying to yourself, well, that's all great, Mel. You get to work from home. Lucky you. You get to spend all this time doing this no stress stuff. Awesome. Lucky you. Not lucky. I believe that as you purposefully reduce the stress in your mind and body and you let creativity flow, that you'll have more time to do more of that, because that's what you're supposed to be: joyful, free, and loving life. Okay. But yeah, but in a very real physical sense, I was in a car wreck when I was 17 years old. I had whiplash, and I hate this word. I don't even like to speak these words. It's like crazy. And I don't ever use the word diagnose. Diagnose, we can go into that another time. But I had as curve in my spine. And so whiplash, meaning having reverse curvature in the neck, and then curve in my spine. You can imagine this is a very, very painful thing, right? This actual physical, your nerves, like, they felt like they were on fire. There was all kinds of crazy stuff. And when I began these practices to help me deal with my stress, which really was mostly in here, right? My own reactions to people, and then mental rehearsal and reminding of past stressors. When I began to realize the direct correlation between this pain in my neck and back and my stress, it almost came as an accident, right? So it's a physical release, and I realized the mental connection. And there's another piece to that, and I just lost it. It's just really powerful for me. I literally believe that through prayer, belief, gratitude, and absolutely believing in healing, my spine is straightening. What can I say? I do not have, if my pain was a 7 before, I'm maybe a 3 now. And that's most of the time. And then when I feel it, when I see it, oh, it was a forgiveness. When I feel it, I can literally, it's a mental thing. I can literally go, nope, that is a past memory of pain. And it is an unforgiveness of myself for having been 17 and got into that car wreck. I didn't forgive myself for this thing. Now I have forgiven myself, and therefore I can be released of this bondage. It's crazy. I don't care if you think I'm crazy. It's my body, and I know it's true. So this has been fun. So I know, so I'm about to wrap this up. This is a great platform. So if you've got any questions before I close this, I'd be happy to answer anything we covered on stress, adaptogens, adaptability. You just want to give your feedback. You're so welcome, Michelle. You're awesome. All right. With that, I want to say so much, and I hope you hear me. God bless you. How do I stop?